And hello, everybody. So I try to get through all this stuff. All right, thank you for coming to Author Chat. My name is Jessica Porter of Cross Reviews, and with us today is Maggie Hall of The Conspiracy, author of The Conspiracy of Us, and the forthcoming Map of Fates, right?
Yes, that's right.
That will be out next March. So we are going to get into this here. I will bring her on, and you can introduce who you are and a little bit about your book.
All right.
Go. You're good.
I'm here. Okay. Hi, guys. My name's Maggie, and I am the author of this here book right here, The Conspiracy of Us. It's a young adult international thriller, so if you know, like the Da Vinci Code, that kind of thing, it's sort of like a teen version of that. But, you know, not really, but we have conspiracies, we have danger, action, lots of travel, but we also have some, you know, kissing and ball gowns, lots of ball gowns, running all over Europe. So it's a lot of fun, and I would love to answer your questions about it today.
All right. Well, the first question was actually when book 2 was coming out. So we know that, do you have like an actual date in March?
I do. March 8th. 2016, Map of Fates will be out. And I wish I had something to show you of that, but it is, we don't have ARCs quite yet. It will probably be in the next couple months.
And that will actually be the next question. If they want to get an ARC or attempt to get an ARC, what would they need to do that?
You contact Penguin. I don't know exactly who, to be honest. If you usually contact publishers for ARCs, you would contact the same person. And if you have absolutely no idea, you can just email me and I will attempt to forward it on to the correct person, or at least to someone who can forward it to the correct person. So
and also
at gmail.com if you want to contact me for that or anything.
Also, you can always try and tweet to the publisher. Sometimes they'll let you know what you need to do.
Sometimes they will, and I'm pretty sure it will be on NetGalley as well. So that is that's another way to do that.
All right. So let's see. The first question is, what was your favorite book of last year?
Oh gosh, I had all these answers prepared about my book. These kind of questions are so hard because I read so many great things last year. 2014. A lot of really good books out of 2014. Shoot. Well, we were just talking, Jessica and I were just talking about the Grisha trilogy, the Shadow and Bone books, and the third one of that I really, really enjoyed. And I know, Jessica, you said you haven't read it yet, so I won't say anything about it, but really, really good. That was one I was really looking forward to, and I think really lived up to the hype. So
that makes me happy. All right. The next question is, your website states that you travel all over the world. What has been your favorite travel destination so far?
Ooh, another good question. As you can tell if you've read Conspiracy, a lot of it takes place in Paris, and I have always loved Paris. I've been there quite a few times through my life, and the most recent time was about, I guess, a year and a half ago now. My husband and I lived there for about a month while I was editing Conspiracy, actually. This picture right behind me, in fact, from under the Eiffel Tower, we took while we were there. So it's a gorgeous, amazing city. Obviously, nobody's going to argue with me that Paris is great. I don't think so. That's great. And I love India, which is completely opposite, totally different, except the food is really great in both places, both Paris and India. So maybe that's something that's going to be in common with all of my travel likes, is great food. But India is this really completely insane, crazy place that I'm not sure everyone would love, to be honest. It's just so wild. Someone told me it's an assault on all your senses, and I think that's completely true. But in a good way, a really good way. So you may just see a little of that in Map of Fates.
Great. Where would you like to go next?
Oh, everywhere. I have never been to South America, and I would really love to go there. That's really the only major area of the world besides Antarctica, which I'm not sure I'm actually going to get to, but I've never been south of Central America. So I would love to make it to Brazil, to Argentina. Heard great things about Uruguay, Peru. That's definitely on our itinerary soon, I hope.
And where are you right now?
I am sitting on my couch in my living room. Yeah, red couch. I'm not going to show you the entire living room because the coffee table is a mess. Sorry. But I'll show you a little bit. So let's see.
Ooh, I like your curtains.
Here, curtains. Oh, some mess. Okay, my sewing machine and a bunch more huge piles of papers because I was just doing some last edits on Map of Faith, so I have papers just spread all over that table right now.
Great. The next question is, why do you love YA and why did you choose to write it?
That is a great question. I think I love YA because there's so many emotions at that time in your life. I don't know about other YA authors, but I feel like I can very much remember what it was like to be that age. Sometimes I still think I am 16, honestly, even though it's been a little while now. But I can remember just everything's so new at that point. You can just be doing your normal stuff, going about your normal life, and everything feels so new and different and exciting and scary. And just the heightened sense of everything going on in your life is one reason I love YA. And I guess that's why I chose to write it. I don't feel like I really made a conscious choice. It's not like this book was maybe going to be adult. That was just how these characters ended up. So.
All right. The next question is, does your book have a love triangle?
Well, no, not really. It's a little spoilery, I think, to say too much about that. There's one girl and two main characters. So, some people would say automatically that that's a love triangle just because they exist. In book one, I would not say there is much of a love triangle at all. There is a love interest, and then there is another person, another male who is there. And some people will call that a love triangle. So take of that what you will, I suppose.
How many books are going to be in the series?
There are going to be 3. As I said, book 2 is coming out next March, and book 3 will be somewhere around a year after that, and I don't have a specific date yet.
In the beginning of book 1, it has your main character, the Averys, just leaving the dance with the boy that she just met. Yes. What do you think was running through her head when she made that decision?
I get people asking about this a lot. Yeah, that was a pretty stupid decision in a lot of ways. I think the reason she goes with Stellan from the dance in the beginning is not, it honestly has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with, she's not thinking about boys at this point. She has just found out that she has this long lost family. She has a father that she never knew existed. She always thought that her dad was dead. Her and her mom have just been a little family of their own for a very long time, and she has just moments ago found out that she actually has a dad and a family. So that's kind of something that she's wanted her whole life, and it clouds her judgment a little bit at that point. So yeah, a little later she kind of wakes up and thinks, oh, that was maybe not the smartest thing I could have ever done. But at the moment, she followed her heart, I suppose.
Great. Let's see. The next question is there a particular book that stood out to you that inspired you to want to become a writer?
I wouldn't say anything really specific. I've been a huge reader since I was teeny tiny. I pretty much learned to read on the Little House on the Prairie books, which I loved when I was little. And, you know, Babysitter's Club. I read a ton of that kind of stuff when I was very, very small. At that point, I had never considered being a writer. It wasn't something I thought about at all until much, much later. I think reading some adult thrillers like Da Vinci Code, or I don't know if any of you know, like a James Rollins or Steve Barry. They're adult thriller writers who I really enjoy. I think reading that kind of stuff maybe sort of pushed me more in the direction of writing, because it's all these really wild, fun action stories. And I think that was the first time I kind of thought like, maybe I could write something like that. And at the same time, I was starting to read YA. I hadn't read all that much YA. When I first started thinking about this book, when I actually wrote it, I had read a good deal of YA, but when I first started thinking about it, I don't know. It's just like that would kind of be fun to do this action-y thing with travel with teenagers. And so I'm not sure it was a specific book that influenced it, but kind of everything going on in my life at the time.
Right. People have denoted The Conspiracy of Us is for fans of the Da Vinci Code, National Treasure, and fans of Ally Carter. Is there any other similarities between another book or movie that if they like that, they would like this?
Those are the ones I have heard most often too. I've always thought that fans of Cassandra Clare's like Mortal Instruments series would like this series. I know that sounds a little bit strange because there's nothing paranormal, supernatural in the Conspiracy of Us series, but I think there's a similar feel of this girl who is brought into a whole world that she didn't know existed. And she has her little crew of friends who kind of change and grow, and find out that some are maybe traitors and some who you didn't like before you might find out more about. And I think that grows more actually in book 2. There's much more of a crew in book 2. You see a lot more of the characters that do more and really grow a lot. So I think in that way, Mortal Instruments would like it, even though the plot's not really similar.
In your opinion, what was the hardest thing about writing, and what did you do for writer's block?
The hardest thing about writing, I think, is always editing. That's a really big umbrella that encompasses a lot of stuff. But I've always found it easier to get the story down on paper the first time than to really. These books are very complicated, and I have just tons of storylines, tons of history that has to work in, and kind of going through bit by bit and making sure that it all makes sense, and that kind of thing has been what's taken me the longest, I think, for both books. And as for writer's block, I think the best remedy for writer's block for me is a deadline. So I don't know that that's what you want to hear, because it's not a real solution. But when you have to put your butt in that chair and put your fingers on that keyboard because you have to turn something in to your editor, you do it. Even if you have writer's block, you go through it and you do it. And if you have to go back and find, somewhere that you went wrong and change it from there to fix your writer's block, then that's what you do. You figure it out.
Right. Who is your favorite character and who is your least favorite?
I'm trying to not think too much about book 2 because there are some characters who come out a lot more in book 2 that I really like, but I don't want to spoiler things. So just in book 1, I think I've always kind of said Stellan's my favorite character because I think he calls out the BS if anyone's doing anything stupid. He is not afraid to tell them so, and I like writing that. I think that's fun, and I like reading that kind of character too. And he's funny, which is always nice too. My least favorite character. I mean, there's some mean characters. I wouldn't say there are any that I really dislike because even my villain characters, you know, because I wrote them, I can do whatever I want with them, and I made them, at least I think, what I think is interesting and understandable in a way. So I wouldn't say there are any I truly dislike.
Okay. I lost my thing with questions. Okay, there it is. Clicked one thing and everything disappeared. All right. Give us an interesting fact about The Conspiracy of Us.
The ending of this book was entirely different when I sold the book. I chopped off probably about 30,000 words off the end of the book, and it's completely different now. And that ending will never, it's not something that fits in now, so it's never going to be seen, I don't think. So that's one thing that always surprises people, I think, how much editing it went through, how much major editing it went through from when I first wrote it to the version that people have now.
Did it have a different cover, or was this always the cover that everybody had seen?
This was pretty much always the cover. At first, Penguin was great about it. They gave me a couple of options of different directions to go with it. One was a girl in a ball gown sort of thing, kind of like this. It was a little different, but sort of like this. And one was more of a spy looking kind of cover. And they were both really good, both really interesting. I thought, you know, I gave my opinion that one more like the one we ended up with was the one I preferred. And they were great about listening to my opinions and came up with what I think is really great. I really like the cover. So there wasn't a whole lot of tweaking in between there.
Let's see. Do you have any unique talents or hobbies?
I guess traveling, which you already know about. I've done a lot of traveling. My husband and I took a year recently, just I guess a year ago, and traveled all around the world. So I suppose that's kind of interesting. I don't know how many of you know this, but I do a lot of design work. Also, I do book covers, other things, but often book covers. So that's sort of interesting and fun for me. And I do, just for fun, this isn't for a work thing, but I do a lot of like interior design stuff. So I'm always moving our furniture around and things like that.
Let's see. What can we do as readers and fans to help make your book more successful?
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. One of the best things readers and fans can do, I mean, buying the book's always great, obviously, but you guys know that. I don't think quite as many people realize how important reviews are. Reviews on blogs are always great. Reviews on Goodreads are always great. But I think a lot of people don't think about taking those reviews and putting them on retailer sites. So sites like Amazon and Barnes & Noble and IndieBound and Powell's and just all of your, anywhere you can think of where people might buy the book. That's really important because just your regular, you know, all of us in the online book community, we know about the blogs and we know about Goodreads and all that kind of stuff, but just your Joe average consumer is not necessarily going to go and look at those places when they're considering buying a book. They're going to look at Barnes & Noble or they're going to look at Amazon and say, oh, this book has 3 reviews. This book has 198 reviews. Like, I bet that one's more popular, even if that's not necessarily true, you know? So it's really, really great if readers would put even a short review up on retailer sites. That authors love when you do that.
Are there any characters that you have written that you started out one way and then completely surprised you and went in a different direction?
Again, there are some spoilers in book 2 that I do not want to give you. That some characters have had some turnarounds. I had, you know, in book 1, not really so much, I don't think. I think Stellan at the very beginning, he was going to be more bad than he really is, but that didn't last for very long. So until the point where I can't talk about it anymore, no, you'll just have to read book 2.
What is your favorite book quote from your book, if you have one? And could you share a little snippet from it as well, please?
Sure. Let me flip through the book.
Something that will get us enticed into reading it.
Actually, how about I'm just going to read you what's on the back of the book, because I think this is a good indication of what you will get, all right? I stood in front of a 3-way mirror in the dressing room of one of the fanciest boutiques in Paris, and a girl who hardly looked at me who hardly looked like me stared back in triplicate. In the silver gown, the girl looked more serious, more elegant. Then I changed into the gold dress again, and she was glamorous, striking. I found myself hoping fiercely that my mom would let me stay a little longer. Meet the Saxons, find out more about my father's family and the rest of the circle, feel like I belonged in this strange, fascinating world. I was about to step out of the gold dress when I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. The girls were nowhere in sight, but the man who had let us in stood on the landing. Sorry, I'm not ready yet, I said. I smiled at him, and he reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out something that, for a moment, didn't register. It was too discordant with the marble floors, the dresses, the Bach chiming from the speakers. It was a knife.
Let's see. The next question is, what book are you reading now?
I just got finished with Conversion by Catherine Howe. We were actually reading it for my book club this month, so that was a fun, interesting read, although I felt like I should have been reading it in October. It's a little bit like Halloween-y. It's talks about the Salem witch trials, and the main story goes on in the town that used to be Salem, that is now called Danvers, and it's all this stuff is happening at these girls' high school. But anyway, yeah, I would recommend it. It's a good one.
I have that book. Okay, let's see here. What is the hardest part about being, oh no, we already asked that one. These are not in order. What is the best thing about being an author?
I would say hearing from readers is the best thing. I love I get emails from readers saying, you know, that they read and really enjoyed the book, or I'll get fan art kind of stuff on Tumblr, or people will tweet me things and just about their favorite parts of the book or that kind of thing. And to me, that is absolutely my favorite, because I think for any author, connecting to readers is what it's all about. Like, it's what we really want to do. Obviously, it was fun for me to write this book, but to know that other people actually care about these characters and are interested enough, and that the book affected them enough to want to reach out to me and want to do this kind of fan art stuff, that is the absolute best. I really love that. And yeah, I think any author loves hearing from readers. So, you know, if you're ever thinking that you love a book and you're not sure if you should contact the author and say so, you should, because we really love it.
How did you come up with the title? And is there any significance in it?
The title was a huge pain, actually. Unlike the cover, which was just great from the beginning, we went through probably 100 titles back and forth with my editor. And it started off, when I sold the book, it was called The Circle of 12, which is the group in the book, kind of the secret society, if you will. And they thought, my editor wanted something a little more punchy, a little more exciting. And so we went back and forth with seriously a zillion ideas. I mean, we had lists. I would make entire like multi-page Word docs of possible titles. We were just like throwing words out at some points, like seeing if anything would stick. And we finally realized that we really liked the word conspiracy, and we liked it being connected to Avery and, you know, the people that matter to her. So then the us came in, and that's just kind of how it all came together. Actually, funny enough, also, Map of Fates, which is the name of the second book, was one of the 8 million titles I threw out for book one that we decided not to use. So it worked out nicely that we now get to use it for book two.
That's really cool. What age group would you consider this book for within the teen setting?
I think Penguin calls it 12 and up, and I think that's fine. You know, there's definitely violence in it, so if that bothers you, then you should know that. And I definitely think older teens could read it and be interested. It's not a very young book, but it's also not, you know, there aren't too many situations that are really inappropriate for younger readers, I don't think. So I guess 12 and up is it's an okay age range.
And the last two questions that we have, my thing just closed on me, that's great, is the first one, is there anything in the book that if you could go back and change, you would? That's the first question.
You know, there's nothing. Okay, actually, no, that's not true. There is one thing. Avery has purple eyes in the book. That's part of how she figures out that she's like part of this group. And I never realized that that was something that apparently people really hate. But I've gotten more hate and anger about the fact that her eyes are purple than anything. I mean, people just see that that is a thing and they decide that this is the worst book they've ever heard of and say horrible things on Goodreads and things like that. So I would maybe just make them another color because it's not that big of a deal, and it was just, you know, I never realized that that was a thing. So yeah, I guess I would change that because it just really, it doesn't have that much to do with the book, and people get really angry about it.
Okay. And the last question that we have is, how long did it take you to write the book?
So like I said, the actual writing part always is quicker for me than the editing part. So it's been years now, so I don't remember exactly how long, but I would say probably a couple, 3 months to get the draft just down on the page. Then I did a good deal of editing, at least months and months of editing by myself before I queried or anything like that. So that's a good, I don't know, 6 months to a year at least of just kind of messing around with it. And, you know, it was my first book, so I didn't really, I was just messing around with it for quite a while. And then once it sold, it was about 2 years between when the book sold and when it came out, which, I mean, is a relatively normal amount of time. But we were editing a lot of that time. Like I said, there were some really major plot and structural changes. And, you know, obviously we weren't doing it, you know, you go back and forth with your editor. It's not like every single moment of that 2 years you're actually changing things, but back and forth, we were probably doing it for at least a year back and forth. So I don't know, however long that all is put together, at least a couple of years of actual work on it, I would say.
All right. All right. Well, that is all the questions that we have for you today. Thank you so much for coming on. Maggie has offered to send off some book plates. So if you happen to already have a book, you can win a signed book plate instead. And then I also have some bookmarks and stuff as well. I just have to find them. I cleaned my desk off and they're over there in the pile of stuff I still have to go through. So fun times, fun times. So thank you again so much for coming on. When book 2 comes out, I hope you decide to come back. It was a fun time. And
yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. And these were really great questions. You guys are pretty awesome out there.
For the giveaway as well, to find out more about the book, you can go to this link. I am tossing it onto the Google event right now. Takes a couple for it to come on, but it will have Maggie's bio and all of her links, as well as the buy link to Amazon and the thing to enter the giveaway, which is up in six days. So definitely something to enter, and you get to win the nice signed copy.
Yeah.
All for the signed copies. All right, thank you so much. And you can just click the little telephone that's up there or the X to click out.
All right, thank you. Bye, guys.
All right, I hope she decides to come back. For the next show that's coming up here, it's actually coming on the 18th at 6 p.m., so it's a nighttime show, Eastern Standard Time, is Jacqueline Garlick, or Garlick. I am so horrible at names. You guys know that already. She was a self-published author of Lumiere, and then it got picked up by Amazon Publishing. I think it's Skyscape. So then now it's being republished. So now she is a more mainstream author versus indie. So that book was amazing. It was beyond amazing. She will be on here on Tuesday the 18th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely come on and check that one out. I'm going to have at least one book signed by her, I'm pretty sure. This is for the giveaway that was done a couple of weeks ago. So this one is still the self-published copy. So it's a definite keepsake to get your hands on. And unfortunately, it is not signed because it was just shipped straight to me. So I hope to see you guys then, and I will catch you later. So thank you so much for coming and watching Author Chat, and I hope you tune in next time. Bye.